Hello and welcome to a webinar on QuickBooks to Fusion migration. In this series, we will take a deeper look into the process of migration and the steps involved in it. So today's agenda is migration of metadata. First, we will go with the data extraction. Then we will do a data cleaning or scrubbing of the data, and then we will do the transformation or mapping of the data. So that is the today's agenda of day 3. So data extraction. So if you see out here the database of QuickBooks, and we migrate the database from QuickBooks and the data extract, you can do the transactional data or metadata you can extract from the QuickBooks database. So what is data extraction? So data extraction is a process that involves retrieving the information from a QuickBooks database to be used in Oracle Fusion application. This information can be transformed as needed, and the extraction process can be scheduled to run automatically or to analyze an increasing diverse set of data source. An effective data integration tool is required. When raw data has not been properly transformed or loaded, it can be challenging to analyze and make it critical to use an ETL process, or say extraction, transform and load. To automate and simplify the extraction process with the rise of cloud storage and computing, the ETL process have become more efficient, adaptable, secured and scalable. There are different methods of data extraction, including full and generative logic extraction, as well as copy or scan based physical extraction. Regardless of method used, the data extraction tools are essential for businesses of all sizes to gain insight, the enhance operational efficiency and make the informed decisions. There are two types of data extraction. The first one is the manual and another one is automated. While the manual extraction is a time consuming and prone to human errors, an automatic extraction is more reliable and efficient. Once the data has been extracted, it must be transformed to be usable. This can involve cleaning up of a data, converting into a different format, or integrating it with another source data. After the data has been transformed, it can be loaded into a data warehouse. A data warehouse is a central repository that stores the data from various sources in an organized manner. By implementing extraction, transformation and loading procedures, business can improve the accuracy and usability of the data, make it easier to access and analyze the data. So let's open one or two raw files. So out here you can see that is COA, which is an IIF extension that has been extracted from the source, that is QuickBook, right? So let's view that particular file. Let's open the file. I'm open this file in the Explorer, that is in the, so you can see this is the format which it provides, right? So you can see the data has been extracted, but is unusable for us to make a sense of that, right? So you can see this, there is data is there that is related to your chart of accounts, right? So if I see the source file also related to your vendor detail, let's open that also. So you can see this file that is provided in the vendor IIF extension, which has been opened in Explorer. So you can see this file. Some of the lines can't be, so you can see the how to read that particular file. So to make the file readable and understandable, to use, the next step we had to do, right? So that is the raw data we have extracted from the QB, that is QuickBook, or say source, from the source system. Let us open the another one, that is customer source file or customer detail. So you can see this also, the data which has been provided. So you can see these are the files which the source, from the source system we get it out, right? Similarly, you can view the source file of item details. So these are the 4 sample files which we have out here. Let's open that also, item detail. Here we are. So this is out here, you can see that item has been provided. So these are the item details, that inventory details you have in the, which has been extracted from the source system, or say QuickBooks system, right? So that is the data, that is raw data file. So exporting data from the QuickBook, you can export things like bank transaction, account changes, general account entries, batch transaction. You can also export metadata of customer vendors, various list of chart of accounts, employees, vendor type, item, shipping method, notes, sales tax codes, and so on. You can also export job details, other name, class, payment terms, customer message, sales rep, job type, payment method, budget, price levels, etc. These things can be extracted from the QuickBook database. This database, you can have extraction of data, or say master data from the QuickBook, or say transactional data, right? So that transactional data you can export, as well as the metadata you can export. So moving to the next slide. So next step will be the data cleaning, right? So that is data cleaning. So data cleaning is a critical process that involves identifying and correcting the errors, any inconsistency and inaccuracy in the dataset. The goal is to improve the data quality and reliability, make the data suitable for analysis and decision making. The process involves a series of steps including detecting and resolving the issue such as missing values, duplicate records, incorrect data format and outlines. For example, suppose you have a financial data warehouse. In that case, data cleansing may include eliminating the duplicate vendor or say customer record, filling a missing value of a key indicator, and fixing the data entry errors to guarantee the accuracy or say accurate vendor or customer information. This guarantees the financial expert have access to a dependable data that can be used to make informed decision about the vendor or say customer details. So let's open a data file, that is chart of accounts metadata. We will open that. So previously we have seen the raw data, right? So in the raw data, whatever the data we have found, it is not viable for us to use that particular data. So we have changed the data. So after checking, we normalize that, right? So we normalize that and technically we have corrected the data and fixed the impurities of that. So first one, we will go with the sample data, or you can say a data scrubbing we have done. So that is the first, we will go with the chart of accounts metadata. So here we are. So this is the format which is readable right now. So you can see the name out here, the reference number, the timestamp and the account type, and there is a opening balance amount and the description in the header level, and the account number of this particular account number of this particular code, right? So that is out here. The other fields are bank number is there, SCD is there, right? So that is the thing. So this value is readable now as compared to the raw data. If we go and see that particular raw data, so this is the raw data, right? So you can't read to which line we had to start, the where is the column, right? So where is the rows are there, which row and which column it has. So that meaningful data we had to make. So it is converted to Excel and it turned into a meaningful data, so that we can map the data accordingly, right? So that is how the data scrubbing is done, or say data cleansing is been done. Let's take another look to the vendor metadata. So there is a one more sample, that is we have converted that vendor metadata. If you see out here, let me open this particular vendor metadata. Just a minute. So you can see out here, so this is the metadata, right? So we have converted into an Excel file, so you can view that that is readable, right? So this line up to from 1 to 36 or say 35, right? So these lines has to be truncated, right? So these lines has to be truncated, but it provides you which date the data is, right? So timestamp is there, right? So these are the details you can have, right? So that you can truncate it from here, either truncate it from here to this to this, so it will make a relevant data or say meaningful data to map in the next step, right? So that is what we called as data scrubbing or data cleaning. If you see this in the raw data, if you see this particular in the raw data, so this is the vendor. Let me open that. So you can see this one, so that which column this particular field is, it's not usable, we can't map with this particular one, right? So this is the raw data, we converted and scrub that particular data to make a meaningful data. So this is all about the data cleansing. So data scrubbing is another term for a data cleansing and is often used interchangeably. It involves the process of scrubbing or cleaning of the data to ensure it is a consistent, accurate and ready to use. Data scrubbing typically involved combination of automated tools and manual interventions to identify and resolve the data quality. On other hand, data aggregation is a process to combining and summarizing the data from multiple sources or records into unified dataset. It is essential process in a data warehouse that helps to create higher level view of data, allowing for easier analysis and reporting. The aggregation can involve in summing, averaging, counting and finding maximum and minimum values. So for example, in the retail data warehouse, the data aggregation might involve summing of the sales data at the monthly or quarterly level to provide higher level overview of revenue trends. This helps the retailer to identify the pattern and the trends in the sales data, allowing them to make informed decisions about the inventory management and marketing and sales strategies. So moving to the next slide, data transformation and mapping. So data mapping is an essential process in managing and integrating the data between the source and the target. Out here we are talking about the QuickBook and Oracle Fusion system. It involves establishing the relationship between the data element in the two different models, which is crucial for various data integration tasks such as data migration and data cleaning, data integration, systematic web construction, and peer-to-peer information system. If data is not mapped correctly, it can become corrupted during the transfer to its destination. Therefore, the quality of data mapping is key to make the best use of data in the task such as data migration, integration, transformations, and populating a data warehouse. Mapping is the crucial, or say first crucial step in discovering the insight and the business intelligence for an organization. Data mapping allows for a more transparent process and analyze by combining the source into a trusted data set. It is also essential for determining the validity of critical data, or say business data or business transactions, and provide documentation how it obtains, which is necessary condition of a data regulations. To carry out the data mapping, there are several steps involved. The first, you need to define the data to be moved, including the tables, the fields in the each table, and the format of the fields. After the move, for data integration, the frequency of data transmission is also defined. The next step is to map the data by matching the source and the target fields. If any field need to be converted or transformed, is done by encoding the transformation formula, or say rule, or say transformation rule. The transfer is then run using the test system and sample data from the source to see how it works. Adjust as needed. Once you are sure that the data transform is working as planned, schedule the migration or integration. Finally, for continuing the data integration, the data mapping is a living entity that needs to be updated and changed as a new data source are added. The data source change or destination requirement is changed. Let's open a mapping data file. So let's first view the raw data, then we will view the mapping out here, and then we will see the data mapping in the target sheet. That we were having a sample of a chart of accounts data mapping. So let's view the first raw data which we have after cleaning, how it looks. If we see, this is my raw data. So it is the raw data, that is one meaningful data, right? So that we have converted this into a meaningful data. Now we have created a mapping sheet. So the mapping sheet, let's open that. Just a minute. Give me a minute. So here we are. So this is the mapping sheet we are talking about. So out here, the QuickBook code, you can see this is the bank account, right? So that is Union State Bank is there. The code in QB is 140201, right? Out here we mapped out here with this code, right? Similarly, we map all the fields. If I see map out here, say uncategorized expenses, so this has been mapped with this particular code, right? So that is how we going to map it out here. So that this is the QB code and this is the Fusion code, right? So that Fusion code has been mapped out here. So if you see, these are the codes. You can say other direct expenses, this is related to your expenses. This is asset related type, this is your liability, this is your owner's equity, there is a revenue, or some of them are expenses. So these are the 5 types of account types are there. That is account type, it should be account type. It should be account type, and the wire, these are all values are child values, right? So we are mapped with the 1 to 1 with the values out here. You can have a one to many, a many to one. That kind of a mapping you can do. So out here for the example, I am, so that you can understand how to map. So that is the QB code, that is out here the code which denotes the bank, as that is Union State Bank, and the QB code is 140201, and in the Fusion we had defined this code as 111110. That code has defined. Similarly, bank, the smart bank, out here we had defined the QB. You have a 140202, and in the Fusion account code is 11120. And if I go to the cash in hand, right, so if we see cash in hand, which is defined out here as 14001, out here we had defined as 11010, right. If you see the length, if I see a length, it got 6 characters, right. So that is 6 characters. And out here in the QB we got a 5. So that is, we have mapped with the 6 character with 5. So this is how we do the mapping, and we create a mapping sheet for that, right. So that asset, the account type is asset, and the liability, and if you see the liability, accounts payable, say other current liabilities, which is 23001, is mapped out here with the 22020, right. In the next, how we had created a mapping sheet in the target, we will see that. So this is about the mappings, right. So if you see, let's go and open that one. So in the rapid implementation sheet, we will going to import the create the chart of accounts, calendar and ledger with through the rapid implementation. So we've provided the company name, the period and the frequency of the adjusting period, and the adjusting period is monthly and the frequency period will be monthly, and adjusting period once at the end of the year, and my fiscal year starting, that is 1st 24, and these are the segments, right. So these are the segments. One is the company, which will be my balancing, so that will be a balancing segment. Every journal has to be balanced, that is at the company level, and I provided that short prompt, and the display width, and the display width is my 3, and the department I have taken. So department wise I can create reports with a cost center segment. So I can use the cost center. With the cost center I can create reports, and if in the future when we create fixed assets, department wise details are required. So department, I given the short prompt as DEPT, and the display width I given as the 4, and the natural account. The natural account, out here the natural account I have segment I have given, and provide the label as a natural account segment. So these both are very important. These are the mandate and the short prompt. ACCT, I have provided the short prompt with a display width of 9, and the line of business This is again to create a report out of the line of business. I created a segment, and to capture the line of business I have given the short prompt as LOB also, and the display width as selected as a 2. Similarly, in the product as a segment, I will capture the details using the product segment. On that basis, we will create reports that might be internal reports or internal profitability based on the line of business. So that kind of a reporting, so management reporting, that will be an internal reporting. So that internal reporting can be achieved by using this product wise details that will capture the product related activities. So that is business activities that, and I have provided that PDT, and the display width I have taken as a 4. For intercompany related activities, I have created a one segment, that is intercompany, and provided the intercompany segment label, and that segment label will, by providing the segment label, the intercompany, that is AGIS, I can create the AGIS related activities, and I provided the short prompt as IC and the display width as 3, and I have created a one future growth segment. If any future growth is there, then you can rename that and use that particular segment for reporting and other activity purposes, and I have given that particular display width as 4. Now moving to the business, that is ABC company, having a one US BU 101, and the legal entity attached to that particular business unit is there. I have provided the business unit. Similarly, it has started a business in India, so ABC company INC with a BU 201, and it is a subsidiary of this holding company. Let's go to the company and legal entities out here. So you can see the parent child relationship out here. So out here you can see the total group, company group, that is parent 4. If I want to see any group related balances or details related to that, I can use this particular code to capture those details. I can fetch the details. I can create a report out of that, group level report, or say in the corporate level I want to use that can be done. Or you can have headquarters level, you have a operational US level, and there is a company India level, right? So that is ABC in the Indian level. If I want to get a report out of that, the total Indian operations, that is ABC retail and ABC company warehouse. Similar in the US also, it is got a US company, US retail and US warehouse, so as the legal entity, and the legal entity providing the legal identifier, so as the address out here and the city, right? Similarly, we have provided the address line for the Indian entity, that is subsidiary. In the company and the legal entity, it will create legal entity with legal address. Now going to the department, as we have selected department out here, the segment. So this is the department. Out here the total cost center wise department. So I have used the department out, and the total, the each development research and development. This is the parent group. You can have a multiple research. So marketing, sales and marketing. Similarly in the finance, you got a CFO office and the accounting. In the resource management, you got a human resource and the facilities. And if you see in the warehouse operation, you got sales and service and supporting staff. Coming to the natural account, let us view that one. So there are a lot of values which are being incorporated from the QuickBook. So these values out here, you can see this mapping out here. So that is the code. If you have seen that, this is the code. We have child values, right? So that child values has been mapped with the QuickBook, that is 140201 mapped with the 1110. Similarly, you got a 14202 of QuickBook value has been mapped with the 11120, which is Smart Bank. And if you see out here, that is mapping of a QuickBook value 14001, that is cash in hand, mapped with the 11010, that is cash in hand, right? So this is about the asset side. If you go, so receivables out here, the receivables in the QuickBook is 142000, and in the Fusion it will be 12010. That will be the account receivables that has been mapped. Similarly, undeposit funds out there in the QuickBook, it is 140210. It has been mapped with the 12020, right? So if you see the market security or investment short term, that out there, that is 141001 has been mapped with the 13010, right? So that has been mapped. Similarly, if you go scroll down, this is the asset side. There is inventory, right? So that inventory out there is 14300, and out here it has been mapped with a 14010 with the inventory. So mapping of vendor non-trade receivables or non-trade receivables, that is 144001 with the 15010. Let's go to the some of the values related to these are asset values. You can see the property, plant and equipments, that is land and building. In the Fusion you mapped with 17110, and in the QuickBook it is 1200001, right? So that you mapped it out. So let's go with the liability, some of the liability values. So if you see the account payable, right? So that is account payables, and this payable is out there, it is 200000, right? Out here 22010 mapped with the account with the description as accounts payable. Similarly, 22020 in the Fusion, that is other current liability, is mapped with the QuickBook, that is 2300001, right? So let's go with the sum of the values. So you can see these are the values has been mapped. the payroll liability, right? So 23010, and out in the QuickBook it is 24000. So you can see out here the deferred revenue, that is 24010 in the Fusion. You map with the QuickBook, that is 2400001. So let's go to this some of the values. So you can see the owner's equity, right? So let's take a owner's equity, that is mapping of this owner's equity, that is common stock. That common stock out there is in QuickBook, it was 3101000, has been mapped with the 31000, right? And retain earning, right? So return earning, the QuickBook, it is 32000, and in the Fusion it is 33100. Right, so that is there is a more mapping related to that. So that is 3000000 of QuickBook, that is opening balance of equity. Out here that is 33210. And similarly in the revenue also, we have mapped with the revenue out there. The revenue, the mapping of the QuickBook, the value was 500000, and out here 40100. So this way we map the all the values with the source, with the target, right? So that kind of all values you can map out, right? So similarly in the expenses also, so some of the values I am showing, these are the values. Other expenses, this out here in the miscellaneous expenses out there, and which is mapped out there 412003, mapped out here with the 60560, right? So that kind of a mapping through the mapping sheet, it's clear that where to map that particular value. In the rapid implementation, we will load this particular sheet into the application, and accordingly our chart of accounts will be created, our calendar will be created, and the ledger and the business unit with the legal entity and the legal addresses, right? So that will be loaded in a one go. Then line of business, these are the line of business, and the product, to capture the related product details. So you can see the parent, there is a sub-parent, and the child values. These are the child values. So in the intercompany, so intercompany related activities, we capture the intercompany related activities, any transaction using the intercompany transactions or intercompany transaction values. Now in the future, I selected the null value, parent as a 1 and the child value as the none. So as I selected the sequencing, the transaction sequencing, that is payable invoice, I selected a monthly with the initial value. For the payments, annually as selected, that is starting with a 501. With the receivable invoice annual value, I am selecting that 1001. So as the credit memo, receivable credit memo, which is in an annual basis, it will be starting number will be 101. Similarly, adjustment activities in the receivables, it will be starting with 101. And subledger journals, it will be an annual numbering, and it will start, initial number will be 5001. In the general ledger journals, it will be annual, it will start from 10001. Right, so that sheet, that is the mapping sheet we have created. So if you create a mapping sheet, so we will load this particular sheet in the tomorrow. We will validate that and generate the chart of accounts file and create general ledger, legal entity, and the business unit file, right? So that it will create, right? So that will be then the tomorrow agenda. So let's move to the PPT. So transformation and mapping. So there are three main types of data mapping techniques, that is manual, semi-automated, and automated. Manual data mapping involves connecting the data source and documenting the process with codes. Semi-automated data mapping requires the user to have coding knowledge and to move between the manual and automated data mapping process. Automated data mapping requires specialized software to take new data and match it up with your existing structure or schema. These tools often rely on machine learning to continuously improve and monitor your data models. Overall, the data mapping is an essential component of data management, as it allows the organization to integrate and analyze the data from various sources accurately. By following the steps of outlined above and choosing the appropriate data mapping techniques, you can ensure that the data is accurate and validate and usable for the business need. Thank you for your participation in this webinar. The next session will cover the data migration and validation process in the application.